right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Nick. This is Got Studs, where we're cutting through the BS in home building. Today's topic, not my job. Where am I going with this? Well, we're talking about the difference between your builder and your designer, if you actually hire a designer for your build, or more importantly, the job of the builder and what the job of the builder is not. And in this case, we're going to tackle the importance of the builder sticking to what they're good at. And that's typically going to be building your home. In my experience, it's rare that we get to a point where a client will strictly lean into a builder to make choices for them. But more times than not, we'll find ourselves in the middle of a project with homeowners asking for our advice, for our input, and what we think would be appropriate in their home. This is not an inherently bad thing, because typically a contractor, builder, superintendent, whoever's in charge of the project at the time is going to have some extensive experience, or likely have some extensive experience, and they're going to know what works and what flows and what doesn't. What they're probably going to want to do is caution away from that a little bit, though. Not because they can't give you some good input, or because a builder doesn't have a strong eye for what looks right and what may look good in your home. It's because the builder will typically have their hands full actually constructing the house. Okay, on the topic of whether or not you need to hire a designer for your build, that's really a personal choice that you'll want to make prior to even starting the process. Now, this is something that you can get with your builder on. Depending on the size of the company or the builder themselves, they may have a designer on their staff or on their team that will work with you through the entire process of the build. A designer may just be responsible for picking out your flooring option or your tile option. And sometimes you'll bring them in along with the architect before the first renderings are even printed. And a lot of the clients that I've worked with in the past, they typically will just do their own designing. They'll do their own selections and options. Where the roads start to intersect, you start to figure out that the selections that you're making, the choices that you've made, aren't compatible with the materials or the build itself. In a custom home build, it's very common for the homeowner to choose what type of materials, what type of product they're going to use in the house. They're going to pick the fixtures, they're going to pick the drywall texture, usually they're going to pick their own color palette for the house. And rarely does it take intervention when it comes to choices or decisions where the builder can step in and help with the design of the build, or help with your selections, your design selections in the build. All the different types of materials that are going into your house, the hardy, the wood, the block, the concrete, the drywall, all these different types of materials take paint differently. I'm just using paint as an example. Let's say you got your heart set on one type of stain, one color stain, and you want every element that you're going to put stain on to match. This is where an experienced builder who's got experienced trades are going to step in and do a really good job for you. Different species of wood are going to take stain differently. So if you got a fiberglass door, front door, like we use here in Florida, if you have a fiberglass front door, that has to use a gel stain product if you're going to stain it. Well, that gel stain doesn't come in a whole lot of choices, and it's typically going to be the product that sets the stage for what other stain colors you're going to use in the house. Meaning, however that fiberglass takes that stain, it's up to the builder, along with their painter, to color match that to the other woods that are going to be in the house, or the other materials that you're going to be staining in the house. So if you have red oak stair treads and you have cypress beam details, well, that color that you picked for your front door, which was fiberglass, or you want that stain to match up close to the red oak that's going on your stair treads and the orange sort of reddish detail of cypress, which, by the way, if you cut cypress smooth versus rough, is going to take the stain differently. This is where you get your builder involved with helping you on design choices, because they're going to understand the products a little bit better, or their painter, if they're experienced, is going to understand the products a little bit better and help you decide what color to go with or what stain to go with. Because even though that stain color that you chose for the fiberglass door, it's not going to be the same exact color for your beams. It's not going to be the same exact color for your stairs. But when they're done, it should match up very closely. Now, this is going to apply not just to custom homes. This can easily apply to remodels, and it often does. This can also apply to production homes, which you're going to have some selections on design choices there. A lot of times those are already going to be kind of predetermined from the builder. Remodeling is a little bit more emotional of a process, if you ask me, in my experience, because custom homes, it's an open world map, right? It's just, there's endless amounts of design choices out there. There's endless amount of options you can put into a custom home if you have the if you have the time and the money to do it. Remodeling, it touches a little bit more because it might be a home that you lived in for 20 or 30 years and now you're tearing everything completely apart. And so you may be a little bit more rigid on what you're deciding to put into that home versus, like, with a custom home or with a production home. If you ask any builder that's been doing this for any amount of time, they're going to likely tell you that if you come to them and you ask them their opinion on what you think about should go in their house, they're likely going to detour from that question and just say, it's your house, it's your choice. What do you want to live with? Because we've done it. In the past, clients have come up to us, asked us our opinion. We gave it to them. They decided to do that, go with that opinion, and they didn't like it. And you're kind of stuck in this really awkward, rigid space with your client, especially if it's something that happened early enough on in the project. And now you've got months, if not years ahead of you to continue this relationship and this build. Now, again, in the beginning, you're likely, especially with a custom home, even with a remodel, and sometimes production homes, you're going to have the option to do all your selections before that ground even gets broken on the project. So you can imagine that their plate's already going to be full, especially if they've already got a superintendent in the field, especially if they got a project manager, a project coordinator. That's a lot of hats being divvied up just to build a house. That's one less thing that they're going to be worried about, is how you want your house designed. Most clients have a really good idea of the selections, the choices, the decisions that they want to make for the house before they get into it. But if you're not sure and you start a custom home project or you start a remodel project and you're just winging it as you go, that's going to be a recipe for disaster, or it's going to be a recipe for delays. Again, the last thing that your superintendent, the builder, is going to have time for on your project is helping you choose what light fixtures go with this and what plumbing fixtures, or what of the 30,000 toilet selections that are out there for residential homes. They're not going to take a whole bunch of time to help you select which toilet would work best for you. That's a personal choice, right? The best advice I can give, and all the experience that I have, is do as much research as you can up front. Communicate in the beginning as much as possible with your builder when you're in that design contract phase, to go over options, to discuss what's compatible and what can work where. There's a lot of engineering and architect involved in building big homes. Heck, there's architect and engineering when it comes to building any home, or remodeling, gutting and remodeling your current home. There's a lot of effort and energy that goes into that. And certainly where you want your builder involved in design choices is going to be at the beginning, when you're building your house, or when you're doing your renderings, where you're coming up with your rough draft on your home. You're going to want to know what the costs are. Because if you wanted to add a third story to your home, oh my goodness, that almost doubles what it costs to put into just a second story on a home. Well, that is a design phase, but that's a structural design phase. That's a structural design decision. That's not, hey, what color paint should I use? Hey, color texture. Now, certainly get their thoughts, certainly get their opinions. We're going to give you our input about what wouldn't work in a scenario. And a lot of times our decisions are going to lean into more or less what's compatible with the structural and the architectural layout of your home. I want to wrap it up with this. When I say that it's not the builder's job to design your home, that doesn't mean that the builder won't be involved in helping you with design selection. It just means that once decisions have been made, the project begins the process of being built. You delay the project every so often because maybe you want to change your mind on something. Maybe you can't make up your mind on something. And now you're coming to the builder to get their opinion on stuff. And you can see that the frustration for a builder is going to be that, wow, you're coming to me for these decisions or these choices, and that's really not the hat that I wear in this. And sure, some contractors are their designers. They wear both hats, and that's great. If you have a contractor that's got a great eye for design, that's a win-win in my opinion. But if I was building a house, more times than not, I would probably want somebody that specializes just in design, whether it just be one aspect of the house, tile, flooring, or the entire scope of the house. I'd want to lean into them for that expertise. And I'd want to lean into my builder and their team of superintendents, managers, for their expertise when it comes to what's compatible, let's get this house to code. Let's make sure it's a house that's built to last, that can handle the environment that it's going into, that the products that we're putting on are guaranteed for a significant amount of time. And if you're that person that gets to make all the decisions and design the house from start to finish, and you can quickly make a choice and you can quickly pivot if something doesn't work and get right back onto something else, or you have something else lined up ready to go because something else didn't work out, then great. You're already way ahead of most people on your build. Thanks for sticking around on this video. I'm Nick with Got Studs, where we're cutting through the BS in home building. If you're thinking about starting a custom home or starting your own remodel, maybe you've already gone through this experience and you learned something when it came to the communication and the relationship you had with your builder and the design choices that you had for your home. Did you regret any of the design choices? Did you lean into your builder a little bit too much for your design? Did you wish that you would have hired maybe an interior designer for the project? If any of those things apply to you, hit the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you about that. Look, I'm going to be dropping an episode every week, trying to cut through the pain points on home building. So if you can, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe for me, and we'll see you on the next project.